and welcome to AILTV, All Africans in London TV. Today, in the research box, that's what I call this place, I am with Temitope Olodo, the man I have been working with on so many projects. Now, Temi is here today because just this Saturday gone, he has done something very, 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 very brave. You know, many people would, they do things or they react, but he thinks and he has plans. So, it's very simple. I don't want to talk so much. We are going to show you later on what he did this gone Saturday. Now, Temi, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let us talk about the project. To start off with the project that you handed an open letter to the Prime Minister.
Yes.
And that is a bold step.
Yes.
So, would you care to explain the contents?
Okay.
No, before you go to the content, I need to know what was the idea behind it.
Okay. As you know, there are thousands of Africans in the United Kingdom. You are a student of history, and I know that you are fully aware that the Africans have been in the UK for hundreds of years, even as far back as 1583.
Yes.
When colonials was identified.
Yep.
As one of those black individuals that were buried here in the UK in Lee. And then 100 years after, there were about 2,000 Africans, not even slaves we're talking about now, but linguistic, people that were captain of industries. So as a result, Africans have been in the UK for quite a long time. But we've now found ourselves in a situation where after some time, when Africans have been coming to United Kingdom, and a lot of migrants have been coming to the United Kingdom, a decision were made to restrict movement of people into the UK. And that more or less gave back to what we call the Immigration Act of 1971. And since then, there have been so many changes, and one of those significant changes was the introduction of a new immigration rule on the 9th of July 2012. What that did was retrospectively, a lot of people got themselves trapped in the immigration laguna. So, for example, people that have been in the UK for a certain number of years who were thinking, based on the law before 2012, that you could be in the country legally or illegally for 14 years and you could get your papers. And what you get then is not a 2-year renewal, but an indefinite leave to remain. Now found themselves faced with a new law, which comes under what they call paragraph 276 ADE. And it says if you've been in the country for 20 years, you need to then stay in the country for another 10 years before you could get an indefinite leave, meaning that you have to have been in the country for at least 30 years before being able to, get that status. But not only that, during those periods, you do not have right to recourse to public fund or any of those sorts. Now, if you have been in the UK prior to the new law on the 9th of July 2012 and you are married, the laws were completely different. But then the law was changed again, 2012, making it difficult for you to even be with your spouse because your spouse must be able to show that is earning £18,600. And for every other additional child you have, there are money expected, that you have to sit for the Life in UK test, that you need to be able to show also that you could speak good English, which is not a problem for many Africans generally, apart from the French-speaking part of Africa. But then there was another law that used to exist then for those that were British citizens Paragraph 317 to 319 of the immigration rules made it clear that if you have elderly ones, your mother, your parents, your auntie, your brothers and sisters, that you want to come to the UK to stay with you, you'll be able to get them in. But now they changed that law as a result of the 9th of July 2012 change in law, which also ushered in what they call the FM index. And what that law more or less literally says is, except that person is literally dying, the chances of them being able to come.
Maybe before you continue.
Yeah.
Immigration rules.
Yes.
Keeps changing.
Yes.
When I was waiting for my indefinite visa, which was about maybe 15 years ago, things were different, and it looks like also the government is there to make money. So but then again, leave that alone.
Yeah,
it's so confusing.
This.
When you go to YouGov website, it does not make it clear. It looks like they have made these things, or even the documents, you need to have a PhD to understand it. And I think
that is the reason why a lot of people are confused, because there's so many rules. In fact, there are more than 99 type of visas that you could apply for at one point, which they now stream down to what they call the Appendix V. And you see, some of the mistakes we make in our community is that not all solicitors and not all barristers are experts in immigration law. You actually need to have immigration law as part of your elective for you to have that background of understanding of it. And then you need to be practicing it on a daily basis. And that's why we have some lawyers who call themselves criminal law specialists or insurance specialists or, social media specialists, because what they do on a daily basis is that they familiarize themselves with that law. Now, for somebody that, of course, is a criminal law lawyer, doesn't mean that he cannot do immigration. No, because he's qualified as a barrister. He could pick up an immigration law, read it, and have a better understanding than you and I. But the fact is that if he doesn't deal with it on a daily basis, his knowledge is limited in terms of how to maneuver and work with the system. And immigration law is not moved by emotion. Caseworkers are not moved by emotion. They are moved by practical information that you give to them. And I would also be controversial to say, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, that most caseworkers, most immigration officials, believe that everybody is guilty until proven innocent. Now that is a complete reversal of the rules that says that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Because when they see your document, the first thing they look at is what is it that is in there that will make them refuse you. Because if they go with the intention of giving everybody the document, of course they would deny this. But if they go with the intention of giving everybody a document, even if they make a little error, even you and I will not be happy, because it means that the whole country will be flooded with people. So when you submit your application, they go through it and they're looking, their eyes is not trained to look for good things. Their eyes is trained to look for little mistakes. And that's why many people that are watching this program right now will agree with me that they will get their documents back and it says, you said you came into the country 2012 and your mother's name is X. You have now come back to us to say your mother's name is Y. You have lied and intend to frustrate immigration rule and your application benefits. So you see where I'm coming from. It's not like they're doing it intentionally, but that's the way they've been trained. And that's the reason why we, had gone to Downing Street.
So exactly. Now we are coming to that. You see, if you look at the video just at the back of the screen here, you actually delivered the letter to the Prime Minister.
Yes.
What was the letter actually saying?
The letter was saying, dear Prime Minister, we want Her Majesty government to review, number one, the immigration rule and consider whether there is need to help individuals that were in the United Kingdom prior to 2012 who felt the brunt of all the new immigration changes, to find a way of assisting them, to regularize their status. That's the first one. The second one is that the Prime Minister should consider including an inclusive policy that will get the African community in the UK to be actively involved on the issue of gun and knife crime, which is ravaging our community.
But do you think this is the responsibility of the Prime Minister, or is it the responsibility of the Home Office?
Thank you.
Do we say Home Office?
Yeah, Home Office.
Yeah, okay.
Now, the buck stops with the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And if the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Office, in fact, what we said in the letter is the Prime Minister, will be very ambitious, the Prime Minister should table our concern to the Cabinet. That's part of the recommendation we made, because we noticed that there's so many streets marching on the streets of London by our people. There's so many events that are held by people, but the Prime Minister is not omnipresent like God. He's not there. It doesn't get any report from there. The Home Office doesn't get any report from there. The members of Parliament don't get any report from the events that are being held. So they are not aware of all the different recommendations that are happening in our community. So for that reason, we cannot blame the Prime Minister and members of his cabinet if African community are not actively involved in what they are putting together for us.
Fantastic. So now when we look at the video here, you have got other three members of African. By the way, you are watching Africans in London TV. I am with Temitope Olodo of the African Security Forum. Yep. Now we are talking about the letter that he delivered to the Prime Minister. As you can see at the back here, you are four of you.
Yes.
So can you just go quickly tell us who these people are? Okay.
One of the individuals that was in that in the video or at the event with me, or the historic event, was Mr. Babajide Oshontolu. He is a board member of African Security Forum and a strategic member of the organization. The other person that was there was Laide Olugbemi. She is one of our board members and also a director of NUS, which is a mental health non-for-profit organization that is doing fantastic work in the community to try and deal with issue of mental health. The other person that was in at that event with us was my vice president, which is Honorable Barrister Olivia Joseph Aluko, who is our vice president, but also has an organization called RADAT, and that organization deals with migration and social political issues within our community.
So, you have just mentioned that there are so many events going on about immigration, gun and knife crime.
Yes.
It looks like that the government is not aware of what is going on. That means really we might as well go and cry in the wild.
Yes.
And another thing that I have realized is that people are confusing prayers and real being proactive. I'm not anti-religion, but do you really think that approach of praying and going and marching on the street, you have already said it, what brings people to think that would be effective?
Okay, I think some of our people are prone to an emotional approach to dealing with issues. You remember, because you're a veteran in our community,
not yet.
You're a veteran in your field. That's what I mean. You're a veteran in our community.
Yeah.
And you remember that before the war, the Iraq war, there was over 1 million people that marched. That did not change what was happening in Parliament. In fact, they voted for them going to war, and only for us to find out about the sex it does I. Now, what I'm trying to bring out now is that after that incident, And following the revelation that came out of it, the government set up what they call the e-petition, which allows government to debate issues. So if you sign and you could get enough signatures, 100,000 signatures, you know, without even marching on the streets of London, you could get Parliament to investigate or to even have a debate on the issues that you're doing. So if you want to march and bring hundreds of people together to march, the Prime Minister is not interested, will not know about that. But if you write to your Member of Parliament and you say, there is, during the Prime Minister question time, I want you to ask the Prime Minister this question, you are more likely to get over 50 million people hearing your question, are more likely to get a response from the Prime Minister on that. So you could see that the pen can go a long way than a practical approach that has no strategic foresight to it. And that is what we're talking about. So there are 3 levels to communication. There's grassroots level, there's medium level, and there's strategic level. Our going to Downing Street to drop a letter for the Prime Minister means that somebody in the Prime Minister's office will open a letter, read it, and if they feel it's not relevant, they ban it.
Or they can think about it.
But it will be on record. And in 1,000 years to come, it will be recorded that African Security Forum brought this issue to the attention of the Prime Minister of the day.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. You know, but before going to number 10.
Yes.
You have been in places of authority.
Yes, I have.
So, you see, I'm going to bring up a clip again. You organize these events and you put them in strategic places.
Yes, sir.
You have been at the House of Commons, not actually the actual chamber, but they recognize that what you're trying to do is something of importance. So this is an event, another event that if you look at the screen at the back of you, this is another event that you organized at the House of Commons.
Yes.
And you had somebody, as we play, let us see. You see, you will see. Explain. Okay.
We organized an event, which of course no money was paid by anybody. It's free of charge. It was out there on Eventbrite for people to attend. And we brought together, we called it Diaspora Community Leaders Roundtable, where we invited community leaders to come and talk about challenges in our community, from migration issue to gun and knife crime. And we invited the chair of the All Parliamentary African Parliamentary Party, which is APPG Africa, you know, and she was there and she spoke to us and people had the opportunity to ask her questions. We had speakers who understand the Quran.
And this is the PPG,
All Parliamentary Party for Africa.
Oh, is that the lady from Newcastle?
Yes.
Chi
Unogora.
Okay.
She was there. And she listened to what she listened to what we had to say. Everybody had an opportunity. It was a packed room. You know, as people could see, we had people from all walks of life coming to talk there. We had a speaker like the mother that was just shown, who lost a son, you know, who was 38 years old. So she has a campaign called, you know, Stop the Knife, you know, Save a Life, you know. And we had another family there who just lost somebody 2 or 3 days before their incident, and they used that as an opportunity to bring their issue to Parliament. That is what we do. So all these individuals and all the collection of information that came out here about issue of gun and knife crime, which we have taken to the Member of Parliament who promised to raise it in within our party, we now took to the Prime Minister. So it's not like we're jumping straight to the Prime Minister's office, but we've been doing this kind of event. We've also had an event called African Security Women, where we looked at issues affecting women within our community from a security perspective. This is what we do regularly. Bring people together to come and talk about challenges in our community, address those challenges, and ensure that the people in the right position in power are aware of those issues. Because if we don't do that, it will just be as if we're beating the drum. Now, if you beat the drum in the African jungle and there's no meaning, there's no rhythm to it, and there's no message passed, a lot of people will die. And that's the reason why we're beating it with a message. And the message we took to the door of Downing Street.
So, well, you know, you have just mentioned the word challenges.
Yeah.
What do you think is the main problem within the African community? Because it looks like we take things easy, or our priorities are upside down.
Yes. I can say with all respect for a lot of community leaders that we have a challenge with leadership. Nobody's perfect. So I'm not saying that I've got it all packaged up and I understand exactly what needed to be done. But part of the challenge is our priorities are misplaced. Our leaders prefer, if you go to our community today and you say you're holding an event, a party for £200 with a uniform cloth which is called Ashwebi, which they have to buy the tie and the everything for another £250, the place will be fully packed.
Right.
Will fully packed to the ground. You'll be begging people to go back. But if you say that you want to hold a meeting to talk about how to improve people's life, you hardly get anybody there. In fact, if you go online and you think I'm lying and set up a petition to say, I want us to talk about helping Africans that cannot get food on the table for their children tonight, you hardly get 100 people sign the petition. But if you go online and say that we just lost somebody now, a person just died, and we need £5,000 to take the body back home, you will get £10,000 because there's going to be a party afterwards to celebrate that person's life. Okay. So people go to hospital with no support, but when they die, there are a lot of people that are ready to come and cry at their bedside. We need to change our priority. Our leaders need to be leaders, not just leaders for the name of being, for the sake of being leaders, but they need to be there. We need a situation where if we say somebody is arrested now and he or she is in Islington police station, there will be more than 10 people to stand up to say, yes, I'll be at that place within 5 minutes. That's what we need.
And with the bail,
with the bail to help. You know, I must say that I've heard of a particular tribe in Kenya that are here. I've forgotten the name. The name escaped me now. If anybody is trying to do a wedding or anybody have a problem or issue, once they put the name of that person on the WhatsApp group and say there's a family, a person that has problem, the whole community, rally around that family, that individual, and they will donate money, even people that don't know them from America and everywhere. And it's happening here in the UK. So there are examples out there of certain communities that are doing good things. It's just a matter of finding out what those best practices are and to emulate them or to ensure that other communities and cultures are, taking advantage of that to use it within their community.
So let us look at it this way. Mm-hmm. Do you think, because there is so much freedom in Britain, and nobody now goes around abusing someone on the street like in the 70s. Yes. In the 70s, black people used to identify with one another. Yeah. Now that is gone. Yeah. Is it because we feel we have arrived because, one can buy a nice car, can buy a house, can have everything that is there to be achieved? Yeah. Do you think now individuals are by themselves, they don't actually care much about community? Because we are talking about community leaders here.
I am sad to say that it seems as if once an individual in a community has got to a point where they feel comfortable, they could put food on their own table, they have papers to take their children out of the country, they have everything they need, they tend to forget the others behind them. And that is where we have a challenge. There seems to be, I don't know where we got it from, but we are no longer our brother's keeper. We don't care about the people behind anymore. In fact, when they talk about restricting people coming into the country, you are more likely to see people who just came into the country and got their papers being the first people to stand up to say, yes, we are getting overwhelmed. All these people coming are the ones destroying our community. I will want them out. So the house slave seems to forget very quickly that he's a slave, and is the one saying that the slave on the field need to be restricted.
Well, you know, you have put it very well. I always wonder, as I said, it is either our priorities are upside down.
Yeah.
What do you think? What would be the best strategy to actually bring some kind of responsibility and creating awareness that this country is not ours, whether you hold a British passport or not? Because you see, when you look at the Windrush situation, that to me looks like it is a wake-up call for Africans.
It is, and a lot of people seem to have forgotten that Africans, like we've mentioned, have been coming here for a long time. My father's generation came here in the early 50s, late 60s, and they came here with a British passport. My father came here with a black British passport. My mom came here with a black British passport. The challenge was that Africans, when they came here to study, had a vision. And the vision was the independence of their motherland. And a lot of them immediately, countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, got their independence. A lot of them migrated. My father reminded me that they were begging them with British passport, telling them to become British citizens. And they refused because they felt, and he used to say, you are proud to be black. Whoever is not proud to be black is not fit to live. Yeah. That was the slogan that they had then. Yeah. So they all went back. For those that stayed here, and for some of us that returned, we came back to an hostile environment, which, was subtle. So because we were given opportunity to be able to own a car, there was a time, some few years back, that if you drove a brand new car down the road, you'd be stopped by a copper. I remember a friend of mine who was stopped, and they asked him to identify himself, and he brought out a British driving license. And the police officer turned around and said, how did you get this British license? Because you are not British, and the guy in his mind is British. Yes. All right. And every time you go to an event and you meet people, of course, we're only one or two when there's a big event, the events that we call events in this country. You only see 2 or 3, 4 black people there. So, of course, they're excited. There are black people in their midst, even though they're 1 or 2. And when they walk up to you and you tell them your name, they say, "Oh, where are you from?" And normally, I like to look at the expression in their eyes. I say, "Oh, I'm from East London." Because I was born in East London, of course. Okay. I'm now in East London. And of course, they will look at me and say, "Oh, okay. Where are your parents from?" I said, "Oh, because of my African accent." I said, "Oh, yeah, well, my parents are from Nigeria."
In fact, I remember, you remember we were doing a program about Brexit.
Yes.
Now, one English guy, he said he spent a lot of time in Ghana. Yes. But when you told him that, well, look, you're from East London. I mean, from North London. That you were born in North London. Yeah. But the guy was insisting, but where exactly are you from?
Yes, he did. And we have that program that people could watch on the AILTV. Because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
You bring news live from the streets for people to be able to understand what the challenge are. And that's the reason why the new generation, the second and third generations of settled migrants in the UK are having challenges because they could not fit themselves in to a place where they feel is home. Yeah. And as a result, you know, they do a little thing, they're getting a criminal record. Once they get that criminal record, they can't go to school, they can't study certain things, you know, and as a result, they can't get a normal job. And because they can't get that normal job, they will only gravitate towards the area where they are welcome and loved. Who else will throw a hammer around them and say, come on, brother, we'll do it together? If not the criminal on the road who is ready to offer them some drugs to sell and for them to to see life from a different perspective. Now, our community need to wake up. Our community leaders need to sit up and train themselves on human relation. It is not about running a monarchship kind of system where you want everybody to come to you and worship under your feet because you are the chairman of the Kao Association or the Nigerian Student Association. No, you need to know who are my members, what are their challenges, how can I help them psychologically, how can we set up. When you see a proper organization that is set up with money and supported, they will have a counseling department, they will have a housing department, even within their team, so that when you have crisis, there are people that you could call up that will say, okay, what crisis do you have, Mr. Olodo? Yeah, we know somebody we can call. Yeah, we can help you. But we don't have that.
You know why?
Yeah.
I have been saying for a long time, we have already touched on being independent and being free, and nobody is now bothering us. We do not really have a community as what we will. Yeah, we might have people called community leaders because it is only the African community which does not have a place of its own. We do not have a place where we can go and hear Africans cite poems or watch African films or music. We do not have a community bank.
No.
So that's what you're saying.
You
see, if we had a problem, by the way, we don't even have our schools.
No, we don't.
So, but we are waiting for the government to help us. What would, we are almost 3 million, well, officially 3 million people, and blacks. And out of that, you have got maybe 800,000 professionals who are earning money. Do you really think it is possible even to collect £1 every month? We put it somewhere so that we know if we want to buy our own building, we buy. If we want to help our brothers like Lade, she's always talking about mental health, then we can always say, okay, well, take care of this person here. Here is the money. Do you really think this is possible, even to collect just £1? Or maybe could we actually say, let us challenge our people and say, we want you to £1 every month, because they are very happy playing lottery.
There are lots of people, it is only in the African community, and this shows our resilience. There are areas of strength for us. It is only in the African community you see people that don't have papers that live very, very well. They pay their rent. Other communities will have collapsed. But it is that same characteristics that we have that has kept Africa floating, where even when everything is against an African, they can stand up, wake up in the morning, shake their head and go out. We have it. The challenge we have is that cohesion and integration. Because if our kids...
Just look into the camera and tell people, really,
we have a challenge. The challenge is that we are not helping ourselves, and we need to wake up and help ourselves. If they say our children are not responsible, why can't we set up our schools? If an African child is excluded, why can't we have an African academy where they could go and we teach them their history, they will get their identity and will find a job? Do you know how many housing estate agents we have in this country? Do you know how many doctors we have? Do you know how many people are selling, have supermarkets in this country that are Africans? Do you know how many restaurants we have? We have loads of people who are business owners and doing well individually. We are up there. We can't count 10 people in this country who have made it and are successful in what they do without seeing one African there. Yet we are unable to help ourselves. Why is it that these African companies and institutions cannot take up a child that is going the wrong path and help him to move on the right path so that he could add value to the community? What are we doing to ourselves? Why are we destroying our children and not giving them the right values that they need? You will see children, walking on the street at 3 a.m. and stabbing themselves. We have children that they are doing all kind of atrocities that the parents are not available. The man is absent. Shame on you. You can't even, you give birth to a child and you can't even stay there to take care of that child because you have a challenge with the mother. African parents don't do that. Africans, we are not trained like that. You're meant to be the father for your child and give your child value. You're meant to show your child the right path. And if you are in that child's life, that child will not go astray. If they say your child is dyslexic, take him out and find a place where he could get the support so that it could be the best. There are people that have dyslexia that have become important people in our community. So that should not, there's no barrier to people getting greatness. And there's no barrier to helping and ensuring our community becomes something.
So, I know we have got a lot to do. What strategy can we put in place? Because the reason why I'm asking this, maybe we need programs, we need to create programs that will show every week. I believe that might help. And we have like a panel of experts. We raise just a question. We just talk about one question. But not only talking, we also need to start talking solutions.
Yeah.
Because normally, as you know, we will go into these events, people, they will talk about knife and gun crime, but we complain to ourselves. You don't have
somebody from the Prime Minister's office or the Mayor's office listening and taking notes, which is what I just said earlier.
Yeah. And then we will keep saying, well, we need help. So, okay, what do you think we need to do for a government to, even Sadiq Khan, to listen to us?
I think one of the things we need to do, which is very clear, and I think you've alluded to it, is that we need to bring the experts together in a room to talk about what the challenges are. And once we've talked about those challenges and highlighted the solutions, and not just talk about challenges and solutions, but to talk about the practical, because you see, you can design and develop a strategy, but you must have a time plan on how it should be delivered and what needs to be delivered and what success should look like. Now, if we talk about those things, and then we pack up that discussion, we could put a little report with it and send it to the powers that be. Because what you've done is make their life much easier, because they are overwhelmed by so many things that have pulling the Prime Minister from Brexit, to challenges in our party. She doesn't have time, to think for us. We need to think the solution. We need to be like the prodigal child that realize that what is he doing here when his father's house, even if he's a slave in his father's house, he will eat plenty and sleep well. So we need to return back to the source. We need to do the way we do it back in Africa, where you have a town hall meeting or the village head will call the people and they will discuss issue, and at that point they will assign people that will do the work. So once we bring people together, we'll talk about it. Let's put it down in a paper so that it's written and it's recorded, and let us send it to the right authority and say, here it is, we've discussed in our community, these are the solutions that we think we need, how can you help us with it, and put it to them.
Yeah, now we're going to round up. I know we have spoken too much, and the thing with internet thing, we need to be short. But I felt that we need to go a little bit longer so that we can talk about these things, and we will continue.
Yeah.
But do you really think, because of the structure of jobbing or working, because parents or many people, they work in shifts. Some people go in the evening, they come back 6, and some go at night, they come back in the morning. Do you really think that that could be the problem which is contributing of not doing things on a professional level, or not to deliver whatever we are supposed to deliver? Whether it is discussing among ourselves, could that be a problem as well?
I think we need to recognize that with changes in communities, we also need to adapt as a community. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Congolese, the Colombians, a lot of people in those communities are working 24 hours. They're working different shifts too. The kids are not going around the street stabbing each other. So what is wrong with the African children that they are doing that? It might be a contributory factor, but there are also other underlying issues. To kill a chicken, you must have, the mind and spirit to kill a chicken. Because to take a life is very difficult. For a child to sit down, watch and deliberately stab a person to death and laugh about it, or shoot a person, take a life, it means that child has some underlying mental challenges, because the switch in their mind that make them normal is no longer there. That's my personal belief. But as a community, we can correct that. If when I was growing up, and I grew up with my grandmother, if my grandmother is going somewhere,
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Nigeria.
But you were born in the UK.
Yeah, I was born in Islington, just around the corner from here.
And grew up.
And my parents took me back home.
Okay.
And I stayed there for another 22 years plus, and came back to the UK.
But how did you manage? Sorry to cut you. You know what is going on here? As we were talking earlier, that immigration rules keeps changing.
Yeah.
You were born in England.
Yes.
You went to Africa and you came back after 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah, that cannot happen now. You only need, if you are given, even if you're born or you're given an indefinite visa to remain, you only need to be absent for 2 years.
Yeah.
And after that, it's gone.
I will explain.
Okay.
So what happened was that prior to 1971,
okay,
the Immigration Act 1971, anybody that is born in the UK automatically is a British citizen. Up to 1983, if you were born in the UK, you automatically are a British citizen. And if you're born in the UK, you became a British citizen, you could stay anywhere in the world. When you want to come back, you only need to get a right of abode. If after 1983 you were born in the UK, you need to stay in the UK for at least 10 years if you have no papers, and then you could apply for what they call the ANI, naturalization, and you could become a British citizen. Now, if I go to Nigeria and give birth to a child in Nigeria, if that child has a British passport, because I'm British, but born in Nigeria, that children will be affected because they come under what they call ancestry. So it's a bit complicated. But if you have indefinite leave to remain, you can only stay outside the country for 2 years, otherwise you lose that citizenship. You need to switch over and get a British passport. So those are all the different complications in the immigration rules, which a lot of people need to, keep abreast of, otherwise they fall foul of the law. And that's the reason why I said that prior to 9th of July 2012, the law was completely different. So people got caught in the limbo, and that's why we are saying to the Prime Minister, consider those individuals for discretionary leave, on a 10-year route pathway to citizenship. I know that Boris Johnson and the others who are political actors have talked about amnesty, but it's not going to work, because if a London School of Political Science and Economics, LSE. Yeah, they came up with a report that shows that about 400,000 people were living in the UK illegally, and that was 2007. I think, and up to 2012, it is estimated that about 1 million people that were in the UK illegally. Now, the way we work, having worked with different government department, I know that the only language they understand is not emotion. They lack facts. So one of the things we've recommended is, if let's assume for once that 1 million people are illegal as a result of the change in law in 2012. Now, an average application now is £1,033. That will bring 1 billion to the taxpayers' account if you ask all those individuals to go and regularize their status, and you will give them leave in the UK. Now, the UK government will be more interested in that because it's bringing money into the coffers than for you to say, oh, give amnesty to all of them. And once they get amnesty, what it means is that they're automatically entitled to live in a free house, medical care, which will overwhelm the system. And no sitting prime minister will be ready to face the wrath of the UK indigenous population, who will not be happy with that because their schools are overwhelmed, their hospitals are overrun with no facilities, and then you're telling them that they should take another 1 million. But if you say to them, this 1 million will also go through the process of having their citizenship, enforced properly. Yeah. And in that way, the UK government will be able to at least bring back into the UK coffers close to 5 billion, by the time the people are getting to their citizenship state. That way, the Prime Minister will be more than happy to help. I was saying not just everybody, but those people that have no criminal record. And what that also will do, it will save the taxpayer close to 100 million, maybe close to 30 to 40 billion in lost money in terms of tax, okay, so that goes to into the black market.
Yeah, that seems like a big mountain to climb, because you really need to explain this to the authorities. Oh yeah. So that is the strategy.
Oh yeah. So we have documented those information and statistics. Okay. And what I'm saying is somebody, if 1 million people are working in the black market as we speak, working in black market, not paying tax, that's a lot of money that is lost to the treasury. Now, if we could recoup close to 10 billion for the treasury on every individual, or on that population, including money that will go into immigration coffers as a result of them getting their immigration status, that is a lot of money that the taxpayer will be happy about.
I need also to, you have done a whole lot. We have done a whole lot of stuff here. Look at this. This is done about maybe 7 years ago. Yeah. This is when
Chibok girls.
Exactly. When we
4 years ago.
So what is happening here? Yeah. Is there any this we need to go quickly because we need to round up.
Yeah. What's happening here is that when the Chibok girls, 276 initially was reported missing, and instead of the president, who was then President Goodluck Jonathan, instead of him working on it, he was in a political party dancing on the podium, and people got really worried that nothing had been done, to bring back the girls. So we went out there in front of the Nigerian High Commission, to protest that bring back our girls, because they are our girls. And as you know, the famous Obama's wife and other actors, including the Prime Minister then in the UK, David Cameron, also carried the placard and said, yes, bring back our girls. And since then, some of the girls have been returned safely. Some of them are still there, close to another 100 plus are still there and have not been returned. Event had overtaken the present president, the present president and commander-in-chief of Nigerian Forces, President Muhammadu Buhari, promised that he will work on it. And accidentally, some girls were returned, and some girls, they managed to get some girls back. But even under his watch.
Yeah.
Another 100+ girls were taken from capture, although some of them were returned, 5 of them died, and 1 Christian girl was not returned and has not been returned up to date.
That's fantastic. Do you know why I brought up this this clip here?
Yes.
We have done a whole lot of work in covering African events.
Yes,
and
we have.
Also, I want us to have a strategy whereby we can mobilize.
Yes.
Now, what I mean mobilizing is actually mobilizing, as we have touched it earlier. We want to get now the people who are serious about African matters. Whether we have a crowd of 10 people or whether we have a crowd of 1 person, it doesn't matter. The mobilization, and we need also to start really teaching people, or let us even run workshops. It doesn't matter. It could be online and stuff like that. Temi, thanks very much for coming in to talk about this. But most importantly, what you have done, you have delivered the letter, as you have said. If there is something in it, they will look at it, but at least it is a record.
Yes, it is.
So if you wanted to do, say for example, you wanted to target the home secretary, because that is the guy we need to see.
Yeah.
That is the person that we need to present.
Yes.
With facts.
Yes.
You know, because it looks like we people from people of African origin, I don't think we will be ever accepted. Although people, they want to think that I am British, I do this, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about the dangers of having dual nationality, and I think that will be another matter.
Yes.
That's another day.
Yes. Yes.
You see, we are going to stop here. We have got plenty. So all you have really to do, if you have questions you want to ask Temi, just fire him with the questions. I know today we did this unannounced. We are just testing the waters. You know, as always, I'm always testing my technology. I am a techno guy. I don't know about presenting. I don't know nothing about all this. But now I can see the technology is on our side. We will be bringing you some very, 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 very important news and suggestions. Temi,
yes.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for
yes. Good.
Thank you.
And we're going to sign off. Here we go.